So maybe another question for you is, how do folks get started? Mm-hmm. They get the link or they can start up their account, but what would you recommend, or what would be some of the advice that you'd have for folks as they're starting to get started with this brokerage account?
Mm-hmm. Well, we've sort of taken all of the difficult part out, which is coming up with a lot of money or making the account opening hard. Now you can write at Young Investors Society, you can go and click this link and all of a sudden you have $5 of stock as soon as you spend a couple minutes opening this account. So that's great. But the next step is really learning about the stock market. Technology makes it very easy to put everything on autopilot and let someone else figure out what you do, but it also allows you to go in and give you all kinds of research and the ability to learn about the stock market yourself. So, we've got a lot of people that get started with their $5. Mm-hmm. They learn about the market, and then they end up doing something that is a very important principle in investing, which is diversification, right? Yeah. So you may have everything in Snap stock, and then you want to sort of diversify to a few other stocks. So it's really important to do your homework and get educated. But the other really interesting part of all this is that even when you're just getting started, you know a lot more. Teenagers know a lot more than they think when it comes to investing. Had I known about Under Armour and how successful it was going to be when my kids knew about it, we'd be really wealthy folks by now. Or had I known about Tesla or Lululemon. My daughter said, Dad, I think Lululemon is going to take off, and she saw it. She saw these trends happening. My son saw lithium being a big thing because all of these people are looking at battery, powered
really
cars,
interesting.
Right? So just being observant, looking at all the trends around you and seeing what people are doing, what people are buying, what people are interested in, can give you sort of a glimpse on some of the companies that might be the next big Google, Facebook, Apple.
Really interesting, really interesting. I think that's a great point. I was just talking with my wife, and she was saying, hey, we need to buy Netflix stock because of Stranger Things. It's the same thing, having your eyes open and understanding what are the trends and what people are talking about and what's going on, which can also drive stocks, which is super interesting. So what other advice? I think that's great as far as diversification and then following trends. What other advice would you have for teens, especially as they're thinking about saving and starting to invest for the first time?
Mm-hmm. Well, one thing is it's always good to start with something that you know and understand, right? Mm-hmm. So I think the reason why we saw a lot of people get into Snapchat, Snap stock, even though it hasn't done as well, is people understand it and they use it so often. And that's a great entry point. It's a lot more understandable potentially, than a mutual fund. And you start to understand all of the reasons why it may be going down, or some of the factors that are, really helping it go up. And from there, you can learn about a lot of other stocks. So it's, I think, getting started with something and then from there, really sort of broadening, yourself and looking at other sorts of trends and that might help you pick some other stocks and diversify your holdings.
Got it. Very neat.